מלפני ויהי רצוי מלפני אבינו שבשמיים שייתן בלבחו אהבוסוי ויראבוסוי שיהיה יראת השם על פונך כל ימי חייך ולפני אבינו שבשמיים שייתן בלבחו אהבוסוי ויראבוסוי ושיהיה יראת השם על פונך אוי כל ימי חייך ויהי רצוי מלפני אבינו שבשמיים שייתן בלבחו אהבוסוי ויראבוסוי שיהיה יראת השם על פונך כל ימי חייך ולפני אבינו שבשמיים שייתן בלבחו אהבוסוי ויראבוסוי ושיהיה יראת השם על פונך אוי כל ימי עוסקים בתורה ובמצוות
Good evening and welcome. I want to welcome you all to an evening of inspiration and dedication to outstanding education. I'd like to thank the entire dinner team who put in dozens of hours of time to make this event a resounding success. Let's all thank the dedicated team of administrators and educators at Maayan for their tireless efforts on behalf of students and the school. Let's take a second, let's get some claps. Here we go. All right. Woo! Thank you. That's amazing, thank you. I want to take a second as well to thank our generous donors and our event sponsors. To point out a few, although I know whenever I do this that I miss some, the JFGP Federation, who has partnered with Maayan for years, thank you. The OJCF, the Jay and Diane Zidell Charitable Foundation, the entire Stern family, and the Stern Grandchildren's Fund. George and Francis Aaron, Tova Marin and Zach Abrams, Rick Hazelton and Sura Rubenstein, Jules and Joan Steiber, and the hundreds, literally hundreds of supporters out there who have come together in support of Maayan and the important work that we do. And finally, let's not forget to thank our amazing parents who entrust their children with us every day. So what's this evening about? Celebrating Torah education, celebrating our supporters, and supporting the most important of causes, student education and Talmud Torah. We want to thank you for being with us this evening, joining in our celebration, and supporting Maayan. Our event this evening will not feature a mitzvah moment. If you have not yet had a chance to participate and support, please hit that donate button at the bottom of your screen at any point throughout the evening tonight. We so appreciate your support. Our theme this evening is Onwards and Upwards, as we look beyond the immediate moment and plan a brighter and stronger future for our children. I'd like to introduce a great friend, strong leader in Portland of what we do here at Maayan and all things Jewish in Portland, Mr. Mark Blattner. Thank you so much for being here this evening with us.
At the Jewish Federation of Greater Portland, we are proud proponents and supportive of Jewish day school education. In fact, our community is blessed to have 3 Jewish day schools meeting the needs of a variety of families and students. Maayan Torah Day School is a nurturing, caring environment that shines through the moment you enter the school building. The wonderful teachers care deeply about each student. Jewish pride is reflected on each child's face. A love of God and Torah surrounds you. Maayan Torah Jewish Day School is a true makom. Makom has a double meaning. The simple definition is a place, and Maayan Torah is a special place for Jewish learning. A second meaning of the word makom is the place where God dwells. Earlier this week, I heard a podcast about the incredible role Rabbi Norman Lamb played in the Orthodox Jewish community. Rabbi Lamb served for almost 4 decades as the president and later chancellor of Yeshiva University. One of Rabbi Lamb's major contributions was as a proponent of the idea of Torah Umada, Torah and a modern culture, a philosophical model that aims at combining Torah learning and secular knowledge. Rabbi Lamb insisted that serious exposure to both Torah knowledge and the arts and sciences fulfilled the Torah's mandate to understand and appreciate all aspects of God's world. Moreover, Rabbi Lamb wanted Orthodox Jews to be curious, which increased learning and study. And that is precisely what Maayan Torah does for each of its students. Studies show the tremendous impact a Jewish day school education has, not just on a child, but in many ways the family as a whole. Attendees and their families show greater connections to Jewish life. They become leaders in Jewish organizations across the spectrum. They understand the importance of tzedakah and tikkun olam. They have a true love for and are champions of the state of Israel. and they support Jewish institutions with their time and resources. I am proud to say that my 2 children attended Jewish Day School. It helped to shape who they are today and enrich their Jewish involvement and engagement for years to come. Maayan Torah is doing the exact same thing for current and future generations of Jewish children in Portland. I can only say onwards and upwards as you continue to provide the mitzvah of an incredible Jewish and secular education. You are a shining light in our Jewish community. May we all remain healthy, move past this pandemic, and see even more children blessed with the Jewish Day School education for generations and years to come. Yasher Koach to Rabbi Coulter, the incredible educators, and board leadership at Maayan Torah on managing through the transition and everything else this year, and may we all go from strength to strength.
Wow. Thank you, Mark, for those wonderful words of encouragement and those words of inspiration. Next up, I'd like to take a few minutes to give an update on how phenomenal our year has been here. As Maayan matures, so does its offerings and our programs. If you have not yet been down to the school over the past year or so, we invite you, come on down. We'd love to give you a tour. This year alone has brought about many great changes to Maayan, with Mrs. Brodkin getting the school on solid footing over its first 10 years. Mrs. Darcy Young, Ms. Lindsay Voorhees, and myself have been working around the clock to usher in a stronger and brighter educational future for our students. Some new initiatives that you'll see include 1,000 square foot of new space that house a classroom, a beautiful library, space for students to relax, to do pull-out work, as well as some storage. We have brought new programs to both the preschool and elementary school that we feel are impacting our students profoundly every day. The Achieve 3000 literacy program brought by Mrs. Young gives us detailed insight and guidance to shape better readers. The Anit Tefillah program not only brings davening and prayer to life, but it gives it a whole new meaning for our students. We brought Second Step social emotional curriculum to our preschool program, and that's helping our youngest students work on these skills. The Shmiras HaLashon programs from the Chavetz Chaim Heritage Foundation inspire and train students to interact positively, promotes midos tovos, good character traits, and healthy social interactions. We've added over $70,000 of resource room for struggling students that may be struggling with learning gaps due to COVID, and many other new programs that have enhanced what we bring to Portland. We have done excellent until now, but we will never let a feeling of excellence stop us from improving beyond that, because that's precisely what excellence is about. At Maayan, we are constantly assessing and analyzing what are we doing, how are we doing, and what can we do better. We look to promote a feeling of onwards and upwards, to elevate every individual student's experience. At Maayan, we're creating lifelong learners. One skill lifelong learners have is an inquisitiveness to question the status quo, to look to learn from everyone, to have grit and perseverance to push through the hard times and incorporate what they learn into their daily lives. I'd like to share a short video that we made for this evening that shows a bit of what I'm talking about. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Without further ado, Chris, take it away. The students and their future. Last year, we were able to return to a norm for our students, balancing health and safety, as well as creating a wonderful learning environment. This year, we took a deeper, more long-term strategic view for our students. We looked far into the future where our students are going to be living well beyond COVID, God willing, 20, 30, 40 years from now. And we need to provide a strong education, a foundation for their future success.
Teaching at Maayan allows for teachers to collaborate with a variety of thoughts and beliefs, and one of the things it allowed me to do is expand my own techniques and my own thoughts, especially around a growth mindset. That is where the students end up learning to believe in themselves, and that's at the heart of learning. If all you're doing is being forced to memorize something and forced to write papers, you're not going to be curious about the world, you're not going to wonder about it, and you're not really going to challenge yourself to grow. And here at Maayan, we really look at that. We want to look at the whole child, having this child grow up as a healthy human being.
Our theme this year is Rooted in Excellence, which means the students and the staff are digging in deep to really strengthen those roots in both academics and Meet Out.
The administration here is extremely supportive. We sit down several times a month and we plan, what's our vision of the school? Where are we trying to get to? How are we going to get there? And we think about it and we plan it like a lesson, and we spend hours making sure that the kids feel like they're part of something. I love the kids. They are so incredible and creative, and they love to think and ask questions about life.
There's a bunch of students that I like, and we get to have like a short period outside, and then we get to learn more and do a bunch of other stuff every day. School's important, so when you get older, you know all the important things, and you can actually, you could read and write.
I like going to school. It's fun. My favorite subject in school is coloring.
When I first walked into Maayan Torah Day School to drop off my two sons, I had never ever experienced such a warm, welcoming, loving experience. This was my first time putting my two children into school, and I was blown away by how much these teachers loved my kids. My kids thrived from the warmth and love that the teachers were pouring into my children. They couldn't wait to go to school each morning. I'm so grateful for everything Maayan has done for my children and my family. Maayan is the place if you want your children to truly be loved and appreciated for who they are.
We have a focus on making sure that this student will not just get through this class today, but will grow and grow and grow for years to come. All the teachers, we work together to ensure that the students are developing in so many ways.
My favorite thing about Maayan is that the teachers teach me.
My favorite thing about coming to Maayan is I have lots of friends and I can interact with them the whole day.
School is important because we learn skills, and if we don't have those skills, we'll never have it in life.
One of the things that's been really exciting for me this year personally is working with students and with classrooms and with groups of kids to just work on the emotional intelligence of our children and to help them really become the best person they can possibly be.
Maayan has been so supportive of my children this past year. It's been so wonderful to know that even in the midst of all this chaos and everything that's happening, that my children are loved and cared for and that my kids are getting a great education.
It's really been a wonderful experience. I know our daughter in the beginning, it was hard. Like, she was scared, she had never been around other kids, and the teachers were so dedicated and so committed to engaging her and comforting her when she needed that extra time, and so I just can't thank the staff enough. It's really been a wonderful experience for our family.
The investments in education that we made are paying off. We are seeing student growth and closing of learning loss gaps created by COVID. As a school, with the approach to education that we took this year, our students and supporters will receive returns on our investment years into the future. Unbelievable! Before we move along with the program, if you have not yet had a chance to donate, or you could stretch a little bit further to donate a little bit more, every donation really makes a difference for us. Personally, I have a philosophy that I bring to the school. The more that we have is the more that we can do. This past year, we've thankfully had the means and ability to bring some of those wonderful programs that we were talking about earlier. We hope that you can support us so we can keep these important programs at Maayan. Next up, Mr. Adam Greenman, a true friend of the school, committed board member, and our first legacy grandparent. Adam?
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be able to share this incredible evening with you as we celebrate the miraculous success of Maayan Torah and its enduring commitment to provide the crucial element of education to Portland's Jewish community. We're blessed beyond all measure to have Rabbi Kalter, his staff, teachers, a core of parents who daily help bring this miracle to life. And in so doing, they establish each new link in the chain of Jewish continuity, our most important asset, our children. As the money you've seen on the screen indicates tonight, it's been a truly impressive commitment that you have all made. And thanks to your generosity, Maayan has been able to exist and to cover the costs of tuition, of overhead, supplies, equipment, utilities, all the necessary components that go into keeping a school strong and healthy and vibrant. However, despite the dedication of all the parents and all the students' families who step up to pay as much of the tuition costs as they can, every year there is a gap. This year, the gap is expected to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000. And because of this gap, Maayan must come to you, the grandparents, the generous donors, the stakeholders, not just in Maayan, but in all the various institutions that together make up the fabric of Jewish life, and ask for your help to keep this vital school going. Again, we thank you so much for all the help you've shown us in the past, and for all the help that you've shown us this evening. But in order to ensure the long-term viability of this most precious asset, it's important to understand that the analysts and financial forecasters of today predict that by the year 2040, nonprofit organizations like Maayan will need to rely on 30 to 35% of their budget coming from a legacy or an endowment in order to continue operating. That's why I'm here tonight, to speak to you about the future. Over the past year and a half, Maayan, in conjunction with the OJCF, the Legacy Heritage, and the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, have founded the Maayan Torah Legacy Society for just that purpose. And it's my distinct honor to tell you that we have already received our first 10 legacy commitments, either in writing or verbally, which are soon to be formalized. That translates into over 10% of Maayan's student body now being legacy students, supported not just for today, but for the future. I'm here to ask you to consider joining that 10%. Our hope is that by next year we'll have at least 25% of our children and grandchildren who have been provided a future they can count on. Now you might say I'm not a millionaire, and I don't have a foundation or real estate holdings or an empire of trust accounts. Well, neither do I, but neither does it matter. What matters is your willingness to make a commitment to the long-term success of Maayan Torah. And just as you have given so generously tonight, in the present, so can you have such a major impact on the future. And to say to each and every child, the ones that we are blessed with today, and the ones that we will, God willing, be worthy of tomorrow, that you stand behind them, now and for the future. I can tell you that it has given Robin and I tremendous satisfaction to make our legacy commitment to this crucial endowment. But maybe more than us, it gives us such pride and nachas to know that Eleanor and AY have done the same thing. We're doing it together, to leave something from ourselves, some part of ourselves, something in the future, someone in the future. If you're a parent, a grandparent, or just a stakeholder in the idea of Jewish community, please consider partnering with Maayan Torah by designating a set amount from the assets you have when you pass, a percentage of an IRA, a portion of a stock you own, some piece of the equity in your house, something from you. When you've passed, that you will leave to the next generation, and by doing so, ensure the flame that burns brightly tonight shines brightly into the future.
Thank you, Adam, for sharing with us about legacy. I'd like to take a moment to thank our dedicated Legacy Committee, Mr. Alan Bachrach, Amy Sohn, and Eleanor Warshaw. Their long-term vision will make Maayan stronger years into the future. Legacy is really for everyone. It's not about an age or an income bracket. I'm proud to say that Miriam and I have made a legacy designation to Maayan, and it was extremely easy to do. Please reach out to me if you'd like to set a time to discuss how you can create your legacy. We also have information on our website about the program that you can peruse. Moving along, we have a truly special couple that we're honoring tonight. They have given of themselves in so many ways to our community. This evening, please join with us as we come together to honor Rabbi Sholom and Chaviva Skolnik.
We moved to Portland because Portland has soul and charm. It's a small community, but everybody has a place, everybody fits in, and everybody is important.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the other things that definitely brought us to Portland is Maayan. The care and the love and the joy that we saw in each and every child that was, when we came to visit, every child was so happy to be in school. They knew that someone was looking out for them and cared for them. And it was definitely a school that we wanted to send our kids to, and a school that we wanted to be involved with and part of.
Teaching at Maayan is the most wonderful job, the most rewarding job there is. As you give in Portland, you grow. There's always opportunities and room for growth and room to develop. And that's what's happened for us here. There have been different opportunities and ways to help in the community. We're all one big family, and we grow together, and we step in to help each other whenever we can.
The Skolniks came to Portland as a powerhouse couple, and I've seen so much growth and development beyond that these past 5 years. They're excited to make an impact, and they are making an impact.
Rabbi and Mrs. Skolnik are incredible role models for our children. Their warmth, their love of Torah. They teach by teaching, but more than anything, they teach through their lives and through their example.
When a couple comes to town and they proactively go out into the community to search people out so they can learn Torah, it's impressive.
We met the Skolniks when they arrived here and found them to be just the warmest, most personable, down-to-earth, friendly people. We felt that like we were part of their family from the very beginning of being here.
They have had so much impact on the community to so many different demographics and so many different people. He has influenced youth, he's influenced adults, he speaks great, he teaches high level, low level. Mrs. Skolnik taught my high school daughters when they were in school in Maayan, and she really embodied, she brought so much to the table, she embodied Torah for them.
We've been there to Portland a number of times, and in fact we're very, very impressed with the community. And it's the right fit for Sholom and Chaviva Esther.
Sholom is destined for greatness. Not so much because of his big mind and broad mind, but because of his big heart, because of his caring for other people. And Chaviva Esther, with the equally brilliant mind and big heart and caring heart.
Maayan Torah Day School is so fortunate to have you, and I have been blessed to work with you. May you continue to go, Michael El Chayil.
Sending you both warm congratulations from Avadahim. And how appropriate to receive a Community Leadership Award. You both embraced leading our Avadahim community with open arms.
There's lunch right there. And I'm here to tell you what a great Rabbi Sholom Skolnik is. The guy's awesome.
I wish you all the success in the future, and may you always find good health and happiness in a community that cherishes your contributions.
Mazel Tov, Rabbi and Mrs. Skolnik, on this very well-deserved honor.
Mazel Tov Skolniks on this tremendous award.
Mazel Tov, Rabbi and Chaviva.
Mazel tov to you both on your award. We love you guys. You guys bring so much to the community, and we are so blessed to have you as part of the team.
Mazel tov, Rabbi and Mrs. Skolnik, on this well-deserved honor. As in years past, we try to bring an element of entertainment as well as inspiration to our annual events. Rabbi Dovid Orlofsky has been doing that for decades. He has a personal connection with my family since before I can remember, and his unique way of blending humor into his spot-on message make him a highly sought-after speaker. He's often referred to as the funniest rabbi out there, and I'm not going to disagree. I'd like to introduce Rabbi Dovid Orlofsky.
Hi, this is Dovid Orlofsky in Yerushalayim, coming to you 10,000 miles away. And I wish I could be in Portland, Oregon with you in the Maayan School with all of the wonderful things they do. I've had the zchus to know Rabbi Coulter for many, many years, more than I care to reflect upon. And he asked me if I would do this for the school dinner, and I have to tell you, it's my only regret is that I can't be there with you. You know, the theme of turning everything upside down, that is, of course, Purim. Purim is topsy-turvy. In fact, the mazel for Adar, the month of Adar, where Purim comes out, is what they call in English Pisces, what we call dogim, the fish. And it's a little different because Pisces is usually drawn like this, but we make it in a circle, sort of a yin and yang, because everything's turning upside down. Nothing stays the way that it normally would be. It's all unexpected. Everything is unexpected. One minute, all the Jewish people think they're going to be killed. They see a giant gallows. They think Mordechai is going to be hanged on it. And then they see instead Haman is hanged on the gallows. Mordechai comes out dressed in the royal robes and becomes the prime minister in his place. I couldn't see that coming. That was unexpected. That was unexpected. Everything suddenly turns upside down. That's what Purim is all about. And that's why the Gemara says that when Haman saw it, came out to Adar, and the mazel of that month, zodiac sign, was dugim. He was very happy because he says, like a big fish swallows a small fish, I'll swallow the Jewish people. And the Bas Kol says, yeah, but sometimes that fish gets swallowed by an even bigger fish. Things turn upside down. Things are a little topsy-turvy. So things are unexpected. And trust me, the past 2 years has been nothing that the world has been able to understand. Who could even have pictured this? I told someone, if I would tell you 3 years ago, we're going to close down all of society, close down the economy, everyone's going to be locked in their houses, you'd say it's impossible. It's impossible. How could such a thing happen? They like to use the term the new normal. It's definitely new. I don't know if it's normal, but no, Hapachu, everything turns upside down. So I want to focus on one aspect of Purim, because Purim, we know, is a happy holiday of salvation. The Jews weren't killed. But there's another aspect to Purim, and that is, it is one of the days of Torah. Now we know Shavuos is when the Torah was given on Har Sinai, but those first tablets we never got. Moshe broke those. The second Luchos, tablets that we did get, he brought down on Yom Kippur. So Shavuos and Yom Kippur are days of Torah. And at the end of the Purim story, the Megillah says, Kimo v'kiblu. They re-accepted the Torah on themselves. what they had not accepted beforehand. What happened? What was there in the Purim story that led to a new Kabbalah Torah? So there's a lot of answers to this question. I want to focus on one idea that Reb Chaim Shmulevitz Zatzal, the late Mir Rosh Hashiva, it's brought down in Sichos Musar. He says, a very fascinating idea. The Reb Chaim HaKadosh learns from a pasuk in Yisro that there are 3 prerequisites for Kabbalah Torah. There's 3 things you need if you want to receive Torah that you have to have first. I'm not going to focus on all 3 of them. I'm going to focus on one of them. One of them is Achdus, what we call unity. And he learns it out because it says when they come into the Sinai desert, it says V'yachanu, which is plural for encamped. And then it says Vayichan Sham, in the singular. One person encamped there. And Rashi brings down the words of Chazal, Ki ish echad b'lev echad, like one person. They came together like one person. Total unity. Not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do. I was teaching many years ago in Earth Sameach, and I said, it's a very strange thing. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't figure out how to make the menorah until Hashem showed him a menorah made out of fire. I said, what couldn't he figure out? There are people in the old city who made a model of the menorah. And you find this in even a stranger place when he said that everybody has to give a chatzi shekel, a half a shekel. He showed him a matbeya shel eish. He couldn't figure out what a coin was. So one of my students said to me, but Rabbi, you already gave the answer. And I said, I did? He says, yeah, you said that the menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, in the Mishkan, represented total unity. It had to be made out of one piece. You couldn't take different pieces and attach them. And all the candles pointed into the middle because the menorah represents unity. Moshe knew how to make a physical menorah, but he didn't know how to bring the Jewish people together. That's what he got stuck on. And I answered, you're right, until he threw it in the fire. Because it's an unfortunate thing. We Jewish people only come together when we're in trouble. As Winston Churchill said, you can always count on the Americans to do the right thing once they've exhausted every other possibility. Jews argue, Jews fight. You know the story. They found a Jew on a desert island. And he showed his rescuers around what he had accomplished during the 20 years on the island. He says, look, I made sheep pens, and I farmed, made a barn. I built myself a house, and I built myself a synagogue, and I built another synagogue. They said, you're alone on a desert island. Why do you need 2 synagogues? And he looks and says, well, I would never pray in that one. Because every Jew needs a synagogue he prays in, and one that he would never pray in. So I told him this joke once, and someone said to me, no, it goes like this. He built 3 shuls. He says, one I pray in when I have a fight with those people, and the third one I would never pray in. I said, you see what I mean? I can't even tell a joke. People are fighting with me even about the punchline. So to bring Jews together are very hard, and that's the idea of the chatzi shekel. The half shekel that every Jew gave brought them all together as one people. They were all donating to buy the korban tzibur, the public offerings. And everyone had to be a part of it. They all had to be partners, so they all had to join together. That's what Moshe didn't understand. He knew how to get a coin, but how do you use it to bring all the Jewish people together? That's a challenge. This is a hard thing. So says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, if there was a greater Kabbalah Torah on Purim, and that's what it says, There was a greater receiving of the Torah on Purim than there was even on Shavuos. Standing around the mountain with the flames and the lightning, God speaking. And in Purim, which was basically just political intrigue, they reached a higher level of Kabbalah, of Torah, of receiving the Torah. How could that be? So Chaim Shmulevitz answers it with the famous Shloah HaKadosh, who says the following. Yom Kippur in the Torah is called Yom Kippurim. And he says you could read that as Yom Kippurim. It's a day like Purim. On Yom Kippur, fasting, dressed in white, praying all day in synagogue, you can almost reach the level that you reach on Purim by drinking and eating and sending gifts and putting on costumes. It seems very strange. It says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, because of this reason, Vayichan Sham. On Yom Kippur, Jews come together. Right? We wouldn't fight. There's a custom to ask people for forgiveness. Now, some people don't really get this. They do it by rote. They walk around and say, hi, do you forgive me? 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 And one guy says, I don't know. What did you do? The guy says again, did you forgive me? So, I don't know what I'm forgiving you for. Do you forgive me? I told you I don't know. Forget it. I asked you 3 times. Now it's your sin. So that kind of misses the point, right? But the point is you're not supposed to fight. Everyone's supposed to come together, a day of shalom, of peace. Unless someone sits in my seat, then of course I'll go ballistic. But for the most part, people are getting along together. But says Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, there's a big difference between not fighting and getting along. When Anwar Sadat came to Israel, so we made peace with Egypt. But people always said it was a cold peace. And the response was, better a cold peace than a hot war. Okay, we're not fighting, that's good. But that's not the same thing as achdus. That's not the same thing as being one people. I said you throw the gold in the fire and the menorah comes out. There's nothing that brings people together like knowing we're all going to die tomorrow. You're being killed tomorrow? Me too. You can go first. The words of the American revolutionary, if we do not hang together, then we will surely hang separately. We have no choice. We have to work together. We have to stay together. Amazing thing. We need each other. And so when the Jewish people thought that they were all going to be killed and be destroyed, then they understood it's now or never. We have to come together, and not just not fighting. The pasuk says just before they come to Har Sinai, "Vayisu miRefidim," and they went from Refidim. Say the Chazal, Refidim can be read as 2 words: Raf Yodayim, weakness of the hands. And the Kli Yakar, famous Torah commentator from Prague, he says, sometimes you're allowed to turn around letters in the Torah. Like sometimes you find a sheep as a keves, and sometimes it's a kesev. Same thing, you just turn around the letters. So Refidim could be read as, switch the pei and the resh, Pridim. They were separated, and they came into Har Sinai, and they decided we need to get along. That was a prerequisite to get the Torah, because you need everybody to get the Torah. For example, the Chazal say there are 600,000 letters in the Torah, and there were 600,000 Jews in the desert who received the Torah. Both of those statements are not true. 600,000 only counts men between the ages of 20 and 60. There were people under 20, there were people over 60. There were women who also received the Torah. Kos Somayo Lebeis Yaakov. So what are you talking about? As Moshe Shapiro pointed out, 600,000 doesn't include Moshe and Aaron. They were over 60. They weren't even counted. And there aren't 600,000 letters in the Torah. There are 304,700 and some odd letters. So Rabbi Moshe Shapiro said once, conceptually, it means there were 600,000 people, and conceptually there were 600,000 letters, because every Jew is a letter in the Sefer Torah. And if one of those letters is not kosher, the whole Sefer Torah is not kosher. Even though it just may be a vav in V'yomer Hashem el Moshe Lemor, not the giant ayin in Shema Yisrael, doesn't matter. Every letter is valuable. And when the Torah was given, it was given to the entire Jewish people, and every single person has their chelik in Torah. Everybody listening has certain Torah insights that you know that you are meant to bring down to the world that nobody else can bring. And if you don't bring them down, they'll never be brought down. Everybody was given their piece of Torah. Each one is a letter in the Sefer Torah. Some will be, like I say, a big letter. Some will be a little letter. Doesn't make a difference. Everybody's essential. So we need everybody to be together. We can't have the Torah just given to a few people. Everybody had to be there. Otherwise, God could have given the Torah to Abraham or to Yitzchak or to Yaakov or to the 12 tribes. But he didn't. He needed a people to give it to. 600,000 like the 600 letters, meaning a people. And everybody's dependent on each other. So that's what happened at Har Sinai, he said. It was like Yom Kippur, where we weren't fighting. But that's not the interactive achdus that takes place on Purim. Because when you think you're going to be killed, then it's not just that we're not fighting. We need each other. We have to work together. Our collective existence depends on it. Fighting is a luxury we can't afford. We have to all work together. So what happened on Purim? They came together in a greater way, and therefore they got more of a Kabbalah Torah. Because to receive the Torah, you need everybody. And that's why Purim is interactive. Yom Kippur, you sit in shul and you daven and you fast. On Yom Kippur, you send food to your friend. Shalach manos. And it's a fascinating thing. You don't send what your friend wants, you send what you like. Because I want you to learn to appreciate what I like. This has led me over the years to conclude that you should always cultivate classy people as your friends. I know one guy who sends out roast beef. I've worked hard to hold on to this relationship. Tried to clear away the Bumba Bisley people. But you understand, I want you to appreciate what I like. Not what you like. You want me to appreciate what you like. To understand each other not I eat my food and you eat your food. I eat your food and you eat my food. Look at it from the other person's point of view. Or as the old expression goes, before you fight with somebody, walk a mile in their shoes. Then if he still wants to fight with you, you're a mile away and you've got his shoes. But Achdus is essential. It's something that's so important that we need. Purim is that holiday where people sometimes drink. It breaks down barriers. It gets people to be open. As the Gemara says, Nichnas Yayin Yotza Sod. Yayin and Sod have the same numerical value in Hebrew. Yayin is 70. The Nun is 50. Each Yud is 10. That's 70. Sod, Samach is 60. Vav is 6. Dalet is 4. They mean the same. So when you drink, the secrets come out. You drop your inhibitions. It gives you a chance to tell people how you really feel. Now, hopefully you feel positively about them. If we've been through something special. an amazing thing when you see what it takes for people to come together. How many times have you seen never families but people don't talk to each other, and then there's a tragedy and they will come together? I was in a taxi in Israel many years ago, and the driver says to me, "Which hotel are you in?" And I said, "Lama ta choshev shani Amerikai? Ani Yisraeli." Why do you think I'm an American? I'm an Israeli. He says, "You moved here? What are you, crazy? I'm dying to get a green card and get out of this place." I said, "What do you mean? Israel is our home. The children return to their land." You know what I mean? Like, He says, but there's so much crime, and there's terrorist attacks, and there's taxes, and so many difficulty. I said, real life has problems. And as we're driving, we pass a chassid, and he points to me and says, "You see that guy? He hates my guts." I said, "I don't know if he does or he doesn't. I have a brother, he hates my guts. But I would put my life down for him." And he turns, which is never a good idea when you're driving. He turns and looks at me and says, "And I would give up my life for him." And I said, we are one sick, dysfunctional family. It takes tragedy to bring us together. What a sad thing. People don't always have time for simchas, but we always have time for tragedy. It's sad. It's sad. But suddenly I sense that I need you. That's what tragedy does. I don't have the luxury of fighting now. We need each other. We have to work together. So important. And that's what Purim is. And most people don't realize that Purim, because of that achdus, it results in us receiving the Torah on an even higher level, on a greater level. Because at Har Sinai, God says, accept the Torah. We said, okay. Well, we weren't sure. The oral interpretation, we have to rely on rabbis to teach it to us. And we don't know if it's true or not. Maybe the rabbi got it wrong. And in the Purim story, says Rav Dessler, that was exactly what they said about Mordechai. Mordechai doesn't read this right. He's an Alta Yid from the old country. He doesn't understand modern geopolitical things. We have to go to the party. We have to work with them. We have to bow down to Haman. And they thought Mordechai was the one who was missing the message. It was only at the end that they realized he understood the whole thing the whole time, and it was them who missed the message. How true. And so they re-accepted the Torah on a greater level because they suddenly realized Mordechai was the one who knew it. And maybe those old rabbis know something after all. In fact, Gerald Schroeder, who has 2 PhDs, one in oceanography and one in nuclear physics, he used to talk about the brilliance that you can find in the oral law. And he said many times, there's a reason they were called sages. They're really smart. And modern science is only now starting to uncover what the sages always knew. That's what he says. A person sits down and connects themselves to Torah. When Rosh Shiva of Lakewood lost his son, so a number of great people were paying Shiva call. And one of them said, why do we mourn a whole year for a parent and only 30 days for a child? And people gave different answers. But Rabbi Ruderman, who was the Rosh Hashiva of Ner Yisrael in Baltimore, said, because when you lose a son, it's a tragedy. And it's always 30 days for a wife, for a husband, for a child, for a brother, for a sister. It's only for parents that it's 12 months. Why? Because for parents, you're not just mourning your personal loss. You're mourning the loss that took you back to an earlier time that you can only read about in history books. When Rav Ruderman passed away, one of his Talmidim, Rabbi Fran, said, when you shook his hand, you shook the hand that shook the hand of the Alta of Slobodka. Parents take us back to a time that we can only read about in history books. They take us one generation closer to Har Sinai. Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky was on a plane sitting next to a professor in Hebrew University. And Rabbi Yaakov's grandson kept coming up and saying, Zaidi, do you need anything? Zaidi, can I get you this? Zaidi. And finally, the professor said to him, you know, if my grandson was on this plane, he wouldn't want anyone to know that I was related to him. What's different about your kid? He says, I'll tell you why. Because we believe that God gave the Torah to the Jews on Mount Sinai, and it's been passed down to us generation to generation. And I'm 2 generations closer to the Sinai experience than he is. You believe we came from monkeys. So you're a bigger monkey than your grandson. So what does he want to hang around with a monkey for? Torah has that ability to take us back. And when we appreciate each other, then we get the Torah on a deeper level. And I can appreciate what you're saying, and you can appreciate what I'm saying. And each one of us gets a deeper understanding of what Torah is. We're here to support a beautiful Torah institution in Oregon. And, you know, it's real hard. You know, they used to say, to raise a child, it takes a village. Torah, you need a community. You need a tzibur. You need a lot of people who care. Now, let me tell you something. Yeah. Some people will tell you, I don't have any kids in school. Of course I do. Because every Jewish kid in the community is my kid. I'm responsible for all of them. When someone's having a problem, it's not their problem, it's my problem. You know why? Because of the achdus of the Jewish people. We're all one people. So if you're not being successful, I'm not being successful. And I have to see that there's a Torah institution that exists for all of the children. That they have a place to learn and they have a place to study. I don't look at it from my point of view. I want to end with a great story. There was a fellow, Schultz, Howard Schultz. He founded Starbucks, a very, very wealthy person. And he writes an email about how he one time went with a group of very, very wealthy people to Israel to meet with important people to see how they could help. And one of the people they met with was Nosson Tzvi Finkel, who was the Rosh Hashiva of the Mir. And he looks around, he says, gentlemen, I know you're very busy. I don't want to waste your time. We'll do this fast. And Howard Schultz says, I understood that he was, you know what I mean? Trying to send us a message, but okay. He said, what did we learn from the Holocaust? No, everybody gave answers, never again. We need a Jewish army, we need a Jewish state. He said, what we learned from the Holocaust is that 5 people on a wooden bench could sleep with 1 blanket. And he said, you have the blanket. When you go back to America, make sure and share it with other people. And he wrote this in an email. This you can find online. I used to give a Chumash in Or Sameach that was eclectic. It was in the beginners program. So we got people who knew nothing. And I also got people from the best yeshivas who would come because they liked the ideas I was saying. So one of them was Nosson Tzvi's personal gabbai. And he told me the story. He said Howard Schultz came back again by himself. He said, I was there. And he walks into Nosson Tzvi Finkel and he signs a check and he says, Rabbi, fill it out for whatever you want. Now, at the time, the budget of the Mir was $3 million a month. And from Nosson Tzvi, who was suffering from terrible Parkinson's, traveling around raising the money was terrible, very difficult. And he had to leave his family and leave the yeshiva. All he wanted to do was teach. And he had to run around raising money. He could have filled that out for $3 million. Howard Schultz wouldn't have blinked. And he, could have had a month off. Instead, he looked at Howard Schultz and said, I can fill it out for whatever I want. He says, yeah. He filled it out for $1,400. He says, take this across the street to that store and buy yourself a pair of tefillin and put it on every morning. That's what you can do for me. Because Rav Nosson Tzvi didn't want to pull his blanket. He wanted to share his blanket. He had a blanket that was called Torah and Mitzvos, and he looked at poor Howard Schultz, who didn't have that, and wanted to share it with him, instead of looking at his blanket and trying to pull it towards him. We can look at it from our own point of view, but the rabbis and teachers in the school have a blanket. It's called Torah, and they want to share it with the whole community. And the community has a blanket. It's to be able to support the yeshiva and help them accomplish their holy work. And if we all work together, says the Gemara, when there are two Adars, like this year, when do you put out Purim? Shouldn't you put Purim in the first Adar? Zrizim Magdim Mitzvos, do things right away? And the answer is no. Put it in the second one, so we put it next to Pesach. Because if we celebrate Purim right, then that will bring us to the true Geula on Pesach and Mitzvah Hashem. Everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And the Mitzvah Hashem, the yeshiva should go mechayil chayil, and everybody should grow in their own personal lives and as a community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Orlofsky, for those words of inspiration. Once again, I'd like to give a huge thank you to you for coming out, to our donors for supporting, to our sponsors who helped make this evening such a success, to our parents for getting the word out about this campaign and entrusting your children with us, to our teachers for inspiring our students, and to everyone involved in making Maayan the happiest place on earth. If you didn't get a chance to donate, well, it's never too late. Hit that donate button. There's no such thing as having too much support. Thank you again, and have a great evening.
I had a Rabbi, a teacher in my life, who made me what I am today. I was too young then to know that I'd owe a debt I could never repay. Now we were no angels, but Rabbi stayed on. He saw something we couldn't see. Year after year at the front of the class, building the world that would be. He could have been a doctor, accountant, a lawyer, had wealth and a fancy degree. He could have chosen to go for the gold, but instead my Rebbe chose me. How I wish you could see that the message you taught remains with us all of our lives. Rebbe, just know that you're changing the world. You do it one child at a time. Countless Talmidim who stand up and say, thank you, dear Rebbe. How I wish you could see that the lessons we've learned remain with us all of our lives. Rebbe, just know that you're changing the world. You do it one child at a time. Countless Talmidim who stand up and say, thank you, dear Rebbe, every day.
I had a teacher, a Rebbe in my life, but it's only now when I'm grown I realized that teacher and Rebbe of mine had a family and life of his own. And I'd like to tell them, you all have a schus, because you were there to support. Like Rabbi Akiva, who said of his wife, all that is mine's really yours. May you all have brachas and sheer joy and nachas and blessings for eternity. You could have chosen to go for the goal, but instead my Rebbe chose me.
How I wish you could see that the message you taught remains with us all of our lives. Rebbe, just know that you're changing the world. You do it one child at a time. Countless Talmidim who stand up and say, thank you, dear Rebbe.
How I wish you could see that the lessons we've learned remains with us all of our lives. Rebbe, just know that you're changing the world. You do it one child at a time. Countless Talmidim who stand up and say, thank you, dear Rebbe, every day.
Message you taught remains with us all of our lives. Rebbe, just know that you're changing the world. You do it one child at a time.